A peach farmer has planted some new trees. Each tree has 5 peaches on average now, and that number is expected to increase by 50% each year. Write a sequence for the number of peaches expected per tree each year for the first 8 years. Okay, so there are a couple of different ways to model this. The first way we already did by writing an explicit rule. So it was A of n equals 5 times the growth factor, 1.50, then to the n power, where n is the number of years. So first you could input n equals 0, and that tells us something we already know, because we would have 5 times 1.50 to the 0 power, so it's 5 times 1 equals 5. So for n equals 0, a of 0 equals 5. So then you can repeat. You can put n equals 1, so you get 5 times 1.50 to the 1, and that is 5 times 1.50, which is 7.5, and we'll just round that to 8, because you cannot have a decimal value for the number of peaches. So for n equals 1, a of 1 equals 8. And then you just repeat for n equals 2 to 8. All right, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to approach it recursively. In other words, you're going to be increasing by 50% each year, so you're just multiplying by 1.5 repeatedly. So for year 0, we know that you start with 5 peaches. Year 1, it's going to be 5 times 1.50, which is 7.5, or about 8. So then for year 2, we're going to take this value, the 7.5, and then we're going to multiply it by the growth factor, 1.50, and that is going to give us the number of peaches after 2 years. So on the calculator, here's what that looks like. We'll start off with 5 times 1.5. That gives 7.5. And then times 1.5 again. That gives 11.25. So that's after 2 years. Times 1.5 again. That's after 3 years. And then you just keep repeatedly multiplying by 1.5. to get however many years you want. You just need to keep track of how many years. So that's 4 years, 5, 6, 7, I think that's 7. I guess I should have written these down as we went here. I was just so into the calculator. But we don't need that one, that was a mistake. So we start off with 5, okay? And then 7.5, 11.25. I'm just going to write all these down on the side here. So 5, 7.5, 11.25. Now notice you don't round as you go, because that would really throw things off. You use the exact decimal for the sequence, and then you can just round as you're applying it to the actual situation. So I would take, for example, 16.875 and multiply that by 1.5. I wouldn't take 17 and then multiply. Okay, so far that's, let's see. So 25.3125, that is year 4. And then 37.968, that's year 5. And then 56.95, that's year 6. So then year 7 is 85.4. And then to get the 8 years, we need to multiply by 1.5 again. Okay, so that's 128.14. Starting with year 0, we have 5, and I'm going to round as we go. 8 for 7.5, 11.25 rounds to 11, 16.87 that rounds to 17, 25.3 that rounds to 25, 37.9 that rounds to 38, 56.95 that rounds to 57, 85.4 that rounds to 85, and then 128.14 that rounds to 128. So starting with 5 at year 0, this is the first 8 years. So like I said, there are 2 ways to do this. One way is to use the explicit rule, input the number n every time, 0 through 8, and then get your outputs and make this sequence that way. Or you can do it recursively, just take the number 5 and start multiplying by 1.5 repeatedly, and each answer is the next number in the sequence.